I recently met a person online that I believe can be extremely valuable to you and your career, just because around 20 people as of today were able to land a job thanks to his mentorship. Ciao guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Lore, and this is the first podcast style video where I want to introduce you to Jaret, who is a former data scientist who actually decided to become a full-time mentor with now plenty of experience helping students and professionals to land their dream job in the data science field. And we are going to dive into the main pain points that Jaret has seen in mentees trying to break into data science and how to overcome them. Also, we will discuss some of the less glamorous aspects of a data scientist career that you might not expect. And we will also see how this career can transform your life and even make you travel the world as a digital nomad while developing your skills. This is genuinely a conversation that I would have liked to witness at the start of my career in the data science space, so make sure to stay tuned. And with that said, let's jump right in. Hey, mate, thank you so much for joining. Really nice to have you here. I am a big fan of Stephen Bartlett, Diary of a CEO, and I actually want to try to start this kind of a podcast style video in a kind of a similar way as he does with his guests. And so I wanted to understand what are the key steps in your life that brought you where you are today?
Wow, that's a good question. So I would say like one of the big steps is choosing something that wasn't easy as a career and it kind of paid out, right? Like coding and software engineering was like super hard for me, and that's kind of but I liked the challenge. So that's kind of when I went into it, and honestly it's like shaped the life my lifestyle kind of is now. The second thing is like really just not like half-assing university, right? Like actually putting effort in, like really go full throttle kind of thing, and like really actually put the effort in. And then kind of the biggest life hack I would probably say is like move away from your hometown and like grow and mature and like see different experiences and stuff, especially when you're young too, right? Is like really good. And honestly, it's like you get perspective of like what you want in your life, and that's really honestly changed my life. And then I was always like an efficient person, so instead of like graduate, get a job, I'm like, I want to get a job before I graduated. So I had like a year and a half of experience before I even graduated, and I got promoted as that full-time data scientist. So I'd also say it's like don't follow the norm of like what you have to do things, right? Like make an exception, right? Like design your own life. And then what I would say is just that like nothing's not possible if you realistically, right? So kind of once I changed my mindset, it's like, okay, cool, right? I want to actually travel the world. I don't want to have a 9-to-5 job, right? Which now I mentor 24/7, and that's kind of like the life. Those are the kind of key moments that kind of took me to where I am today.
Okay, and so these are kind of like core values that you bring also with you now. And in terms of actually, I don't know, like a academic background, or I see a lot of people asking the usual question, okay, I want to get into data analytics and data science, but maybe I done, I don't know, history or something that is not related. I haven't done, they're scared that, because they haven't done engineering or maths or statistics or even economics, they don't feel like they are the right people to start this kind of career. So what was your story?
So I guess mine would probably be more traditional because I went into software engineering, and statistics was like really easy for me. So I'm like, hey, why not do that? So it kind of naturally fell into data science. But what I would say for those people, I would say it's like, you can do it. You can for sure do it, right? Like realistically, you don't need a degree. And honestly, I would not suggest going to a degree anymore, right? Like I value boot camps or self-independent learning if you're disciplined enough, even more. And often what I would say is like people who think or from like history or teaching or whatever, right? You're often not starting at like level 0, right? Like have a lot of life experiences that you can bring and that are transferable. Like communication and like presenting and like understanding and collaboration in teamwork is like so important in data as well. Cause like you're always talking business, you're always talking to the stakeholders, talking to the big goals, the big people, right? So I would say it's like, just because the traditional path or like you don't have the skills of the technical, you can do it. And it's not starting at level 0. You have all the life experiences that you brought and are today, who you are shaped today, and you're a lot closer than you actually think, right? But you do need to put the effort in for the technical.
Can you give us a bit more an understanding of maybe what are some of the aspects of a data scientist career that are not so enjoyable, that maybe people do not consider when they dream about this specific career?
Yeah, that's a great question. And what I would say is that like kind of the things that people often get disappointed is I feel like there's still a stigma of like machine learning, machine learning, machine learning, right? Like you will be doing machine learning 90% of the time, which is just not true, right? Realistically, it's not, right? Like you have 5% realistically of ML, right? And then the rest is like you got to do data, you got to do prep, you got to do the afterwards, you got to do everything else that is included, right? So what I would say is that like if you are thinking, lower your expectation. If you're thinking that ML is your job, realistically, you probably won't even do that for the maybe first like 6 months if you're realistically breaking into the industry, right? Like, and again, you got to like check your ego, right? And something that I say often is like be humble or get humble. Like if you get a job and you're expecting to do this like modeling 24/7, it's just like you're just be humble, right? Like you also got to work towards it too.
Yeah, and absolutely agree that even maybe sometimes is also like I would say the fault of maybe how companies advertise a specific role. They obviously they want to attract the best candidate ever, and so obviously they kind of tailor the job description in accordingly, right? So they say all these buzzwords, and then maybe at the end of the day, the role that you end up doing is completely like something completely different. So I want to ask you something that I would like to understand from you as a mentor. So I want to understand. So one again, probably the number one question that I get all the time from people here on YouTube or even Instagram, TikTok, like whatever, is how do I get a job in data analytics or data science if I have zero prior experience? Because, and to be honest, I understand that. Like, if you have maybe a year of experience in industry already, maybe in an area that has kind of connection with data analytics. So even like a short internship. But what about all these people that they, as I said, they are completely in a position that is unrelated to this space? What would be your suggestion for them?
Yeah. So what I would say is realistically how I say is you need to force the experience. And what I mean by that is realistically that comes to side projects, that comes to portfolio projects, right? And like if you can showcase your skills, and this is where I would say I highly suggest you get a mentor because well, I think everybody should have a mentor, but that's a different topic, right? You should get a mentor for like what is an industry like project, right? What does that production need? Like what does that look like? How do I use Docker? How do I like all these things that's not really taught in like schools or like boot camps, right? So actually like building that experience is what I would say. So there's a bunch of different ways I would probably suggest that if you're zero experience, like just out of university, right? Internships, right? Cool. You have school projects, right? You can showcase them. That's how I landed my first internship, right? Like you can show that, do competitions, do hackathons. There's non-for-profits. See if there's any local companies that you can just work for free, even though I don't advise that. But if it gets you the step in, right? Again, be humble or get humbled, right? So that's kind of what we're able to say. But regardless, is like you need the experience. And like to me, I don't care if this experience is like if you're paid. The experience is that you're doing the work, right? Can you solve this problem? Can you do these tasks, right? So realistically, that's kind of what I would say is that you need to do that, right? And it's a cool to start with guided projects. Like DataCamp has hundreds, not hundreds, maybe like 50 of guided projects, and you can hammer those out in like less than a week. And if you're like for a data analyst, so you can definitely hammer those out shorter, right? The machine learning, the data scientist ones are a little longer, but still you can hammer them out quick. And then once you kind of get these guided projects, cool. Now go like be curious, go experiment, go try something on your own. And realistically, it's like that is a data scientist, right? Like realistically, it's very open-ended questions, very open-ended problems that they're saying like, we just want to improve our revenue. Cool. How the hell do I do that, right? Like how do I improve revenue, right? So it's like you got to be curious and you got to just like ask questions and try things, right? And that can be very intimidating, and I for sure understand, right? Because like when I was starting to code, I was starting this side projects, they're terrifying, right? And again, being okay to suck is one of the biggest like skill sets or mindsets I would say at anything, right? If you want to be good at anything, be okay to suck, right? Just like content, I suck at content, right? I'm working on it, but I really suck. And before it was hard for me to suck at it, but now it's like, okay, I suck and that's cool, right? Now let me just suck less a little bit more each day. And then maybe one time I'll be okay, right? And that's kind of my
Absolutely. And then are there some other kind of big pain points that you see in your mentees or students? I don't know, maybe some recurring theme that you hear over and over again. And maybe can you give us like, a sneak peek on how would you tackle them?
Sure. The two biggest common things are motivation. I'm going to say motivation / discipline, and the other is selling yourself. Okay, which are two things that aren't taught in school nor in these like boot camps, right? So what I would say is that like I literally have a full section, my full like module on just like each of those, right? The reason why is because they come after they come up, right? Like I'm not motivated, or they see rejections, right? And I just be like, okay, well, what's your expectation, right? Because remember, you got to monitor your emotions. Like if your expectations are high and you underperform, then you're going to have a negative emotion. If you have low expectations and you outperformed it, you're going to have a positive. Okay. So what I mean by that is like realistically considered good is 10% applying online, right? Which means you apply at 100, you should get 90 rejections. Cool, right? So be okay with 90 rejections, right? Like that is the expectation. Cool. And if you get 91, cool, maybe we can be a little disappointed, right? But if we get 90, that's expected. So what I would say is, am I motivated to read resumes every single day? Am I motivated to clean data or do the same crap in projects, every different project? No, right? Is anyone motivated 24/7? Absolutely not, right? So what I honestly like to say is remove the motivation, right? And just focus on discipline, right? We just need to get a little bit better each single day. And again, it can just be showing up, right? One of my favorite things is that or one of my favorite quotes is that if you just put your shoes on going to the gym, you're more likely to go to the gym. So it's just like, okay, cool. I'm just going to sit in front of my computer and I'm just going to open HackerRank to do a coding challenge. Cool. Day one. I love that, right? Cool. Maybe you do that for a couple times, right? And again, you don't have to be perfect, but just showing up and just trying a problem, just again, sucking and being that consistent little bit, you will get the results of do that. And then the second biggest one is selling yourself, which just means selling your resume, selling your portfolio, selling your projects, maybe if you do content. And kind of going on your last question is that like one of the solutions that I like to, after we collect the data of like over 100 applications or 100 of like referrals or like networking stuff, is that, okay, let's maybe make content, right? Like you have knowledge, cool. And remember, often what was challenged me for, and again, this isn't selling yourself, right? Often what challenged me is like, and the same thing is like, I'm not good enough. My stuff is not impressive. Like my project isn't cool. I'm like, cool, maybe it's not impressive to you, or maybe it's not impressive to someone else, but think of someone who's one step ahead of you or behind you, right? 10 steps behind you. Then you focus on, you're selling them, you're teaching those people. And teaching is one of the best ways to actually learn. So it's like you're doubling up on the retention of the actual information. Cool, you're creating content for someone below. So it's like anytime you talk to yourself, and this is how I literally learn, it's like I explain it like I'm explaining to someone who doesn't know data science. And it's called like putting it in layman's terms, right? And it's one of these big skills of knowing who you're talking to in the industry. Am I talking to a manager? Am I talking to a stakeholder? Or am I talking to a data scientist? And it's the same thing in the interview process. Am I talking to an HR? Am I talking to a recruiter? Am I talking to like a lead data scientist, right? So getting these selling points on how to sell and how to sell yourself, it is really the thing that makes you stand out. So the content, so interviews, resume, portfolio, and actually doing the job, right? Selling. So those are two things that often we aren't taught, right? And I had to learn the hard way too, right? Through just trial and error, what I need to do. But again, if you just consistent discipline with the selling and okay, it suck, those things will get you the results. And that's kind of my long-winded answer.
Absolutely agree. Yeah. Now I'm a very strong advocate of having a mentor, not only within the data space to get a job or actually I don't know get a promotion, but actually in other things in life as well. And actually, I don't think now there is this kind of culture of having a coach or a mentor. Maybe we are getting there. Maybe you hear more people talking about it. But yeah, I don't think we are still we are there yet. And so I actually recently started also offering these mentoring sessions, and I want to understand from you that you obviously have much more experience in this space. What are the key benefits of having a mentor?
Yeah, so realistically, the three in short, and then maybe I can explain it if you're interested, would be it saves you time, it saves you money, and it saves you emotional support or emotional pain. I would say, right? And like to have someone just ask like, am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? It is really just helpful, right? Just that little thing, instead of, because you can find anything you want on the internet. We're in informational stage. Okay, cool. You're gonna get information overload of like, do I trust this person or do this, right? Instead of like, okay, here's this customized plan that I actually understand your situation, right? And actually giving you the advice of what you should do. And like, essentially the where the time and money comes in place is that like, okay, you're following someone's path who's already gone through that struggle, right? Who's already achieved that goal. AKA, I can get to it more direct, right? Than, ups and downs of failures, bumps, and whatever, right? And then where the money is saving the money is what I would say is that, cool, if you value yourself as a data scientist, right? Like, so you're trying to become a data scientist or data analyst, right? I'll just say data scientist for this second, right? So that means like you value your time roughly $50 an hour. Cool, right? Which means, cool, roughly 120 per year. That means 10K per month, okay? Which means that like every month that it takes longer than it would for a mentor, you could actually view it as this is costing you $10,000, right?
Yeah, amazing. This is, I really like this. Yeah.
So realistically, it's like if you're spending anything less than $10,000 for a mentor, right? And if you mentor for 6 months, cool, $60,000, right? If I'm spending less than $60,000, then I'm actually saving money, saving time, and I'm saving my emotional pain. Which the third one is very important because I was very low in my job search and I didn't have a mentor, right? Like I searched for 15 plus different mentors, and I ended up not going with them. And I made a huge mistake, right? I took longer and I made a lot of mistakes. And I wouldn't have made those if I had a mentor, right? And I did learn from that. And now I have a mentor for literally every goal I have, right? It's like, okay, I want to get somewhere. Who's done it already? Cool. Let me go do it. Sometimes that's paid. Sometimes that's YouTube. That's some person I just like, okay, they've already taken this path. But regardless, and like people often think is like, you have mentors, right? Like you have mentors in your life. Your parents, your guardians, your friends, they're mentors, right? Maybe they're not paid and they're not specialized, right? But they're mentors, right? Like they're helping you to that. And what I could say is that like, name one person who's achieved anything, right? Anything, even like walking, right? Learning how to walk. We needed someone to help us, right? We needed someone to push us, right? Like help us or whatever. Like no one can accomplish nothing. Like no one can accomplish anything by themselves completely, right? And that's why the power of the coach and a mentor.
Yeah, no, I really love the kind of like how you explain these kind of also financial implications, because I see like all the time people asking what course should I do, what certification should I get, what project should I put in my portfolio, but there is not really the question of who's a good mentor for me. Like do you know any people who can help me, and maybe there is also not this kind of like exactly what you explained. There is not this kind of financial linkage of having a mentor, the financial benefit of that, and yeah, I think maybe in a person's mind is more like, okay, why would I pay someone to have a call, or just to chat about my situation? And yeah, so I'm completely with you. And actually, this is something that I also see very connected to, for example, reading a book, because like not many people like realize that when we get a good book, obviously, we are getting all the knowledge from maybe a person that has, I don't know, maybe 20 or 30 years of experience in a specific topic, and everything is compressed in maybe, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 hours of reading. And, that is just, I don't know, just crazy valuable. And, being able to, buy a book for like 2, 3, or $10, whatever it is, it just it just makes sense to like for the value that you get from that. So I really see that connection with also getting the real experience from a mentor. So no, definitely with you. And now I want to move away from kind of your professional experience, let's say, and I want to talk more about your lifestyle, because we haven't mentioned that you are essentially traveling the world now. So I want to understand also, how's your lifestyle now, like what you're doing, like if you can tell us a bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. So right now I'm in Guatemala, Antigua, Guatemala.
Yeah.
I am traveling the world. I'm for this year minimum, but it'll probably be the rest of my life, to be honest.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So kind of my lifestyle, what I'd say is it really doesn't change that much from when I was back home in Canada. Like realistically, like I like to work, right? Like work is not work. It's fun to me, right? I'm learning, I'm improving, I get to help people, right? So I work a lot, right? But doesn't mean I don't play or I don't rest, right? So like I do. So kind of what it is like on this program is there's a group of us of 30 of us pretty much traveling the world together, going so one country.
Or is an actual program that you join?
Yeah. So the reason the reason why I joined this is because like I'm a really fan of automation and delegation, right? So I have
Right.
someone who can plan my social life or plan my traveling trips, right? Because I've never traveled outside of Canada other than the US, right? And it's like, okay, is this area safe? Is this area fun? How much flights, right? Like all that is booked for me. Now I just get to focus on the thing that I good at, right? Mentoring, right? And learning, right? So that is really powerful. And it's like since it was a group, I literally got 29 best friends for the year, right? Like essentially what it is, where it's like there's events all the time where you can like there's a marketplace where you can buy like hikes or dinners or these museums or whatever. But there's also just like random events where it's like, hey, I'm gonna go check out this dinner place, right? So it's like there's always these events and definitely like balancing that. And I do work more than the average person. I know that, right? So and I'm okay with that. But to me, like my lifestyle hasn't changed other than like I'm a digital nomad working in new place each month, right? And realistically living cheaper than I would in Canada, right? Like, so often people think it's like, the biggest takeaway is like, people think it's like, oh, to be a digital nomad, you need to have like a lot of money. It's actually, why don't I reverse it? To live in like the US or Canada or like the other expensive places, it's like, that's the expensive lifestyle, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm living in where it's like, I can get a meal for $6, $8, right? And it's like, okay, that's a $20 to $50 thing in Canada or US, right? So
Yeah.
so that's kind of my lifestyle right now.
So what is the plan of this program? Like you said, it's a 1 year program. Like do you change country every month? I don't know. How does it work?
So we change countries each month, and it's kind of like predetermined. And then you can do your side trips, and you can add weekend trips or whatever. But yes, essentially it'll be 12 predetermined. So it's literally around the world. Like a lot's in Latin America. Then we're going to Europe, and then we're going to Africa, and then we're going to Southeast Asia, and then we're going to like Japan to finish it off. And I'll probably visit Australia and New Zealand while I'm over there, and then maybe India too, because I really want to go to India as well. And then visit my family a little bit, and then maybe I'll go again.
All right, mate. Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for joining. I feel like I learned a lot, like just through a single conversation. So no, really, really nice. And thank you again so much.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
And well, this is a wrap, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel for more content like this and check the video description to book a mentorship session with either me or Jaret. And also make sure to check out this other video that I made on how I landed a job in data analytics space with zero experience, and also another video that I made on how to bring your CV to the next level. And well, enjoy the rest of your day. Ciao for now and see you in the next one.